Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. Today I finally have the second half of this piece, so I'll have a link to the first half right next to me and in the description like usual. But yeah, it's really unusual that it's been this long since I finished the piece before I could get around to actually turning it into a video. When I did the line work, it took me a couple days to finally be able to get home from a trip and then settle down and then color it. And then after that, it took me a little while to edit it into a video, and then it's been sitting almost finished, waiting for me to finish it out for you guys. So it's kind of a very different situation than normal, where it's been so long since I've done it compared to my other pieces and my other videos, because usually the stuff that I'm producing, I draw it that day, I edit it, I get it up to you, sometimes even that day or the next day. I just like to get things out quickly and have kind of a fast throughput between creating the work and getting it out there. So for this one, it was a really different feel to be able to watch it again after it's been kind of a little while. It doesn't sound like a lot when you say it's only been like a week and a half, I think, maybe. That's a total guess. I have no idea how long it's actually been. But it's nice to be able to revisit a piece, especially one like this where I actually am really happy with this one. Where I still have the files and I still have the recordings and the videos, and I can go watch pretty much any of the pieces that I do. I really don't. I almost never look at my old stuff. I only create it and then I move on. And I like being able to revisit it and experience it again. So as I'm editing this and watching it, I'm having a lot of fun watching this whole piece again and enjoying that feeling of working on it. This one I'm really happy with, and the big reason is because it's a lot more of an environmental piece. It has a full background to it, there's a story, there's these characters that are interacting with each other, so it just feels really more satisfying to me than a lot of the pieces that I do. And I'm trying to get myself to work in this direction, to move into a direction so that my pieces have a lot more meaning to it. And this is just really a lot more satisfying to me. I feel really good about this piece and I'm really happy with it. I'm happy with having a lot more of stuff that I can work on in details, and more challenging things like the composition and the background and getting the environment to look right and getting the two characters to interact well together. So this was it was really challenging, but in a very exciting way. So I feel like this piece is actually a really good example of how I kind of think when I'm doing my pieces. And what I mean by that is that my process is not always what I think it is. A lot of times when I start pieces like this, especially much more complicated ones like this where there's a lot of details and layering, a lot of times I think about my process as very linear. I go in and I do the line work and then I add the color behind it, and a lot of times it feels like I should have complete control over it because it's so flat and I have cel shaded shadows and I understand the process very well and it's very clear cut. So a lot of times when I go into pieces like this, I feel like it's going to be very solid and I should know what I'm doing and I know what colors are going to be put where and how to assemble these colors. And I'm starting to realize that I start off thinking that way, and then as I work on pieces like this, I start transitioning into more of a building up mentality. So I start to see it as more of something that I can add to and manipulate and change, rather than something that needs to be right when I put it down. And a good example for that in this piece is that the local color for most of the background stuff is really terrible at first. It's really discordant, the colors are everywhere, the values are everywhere, and I know that when I start to move on and I add the values that are in the shadow and the highlights, and I know that as I'm working on it I can tweak it, and I do, and I find colors that work better and values that work better, and it becomes much more of a process rather than the way that I start off, where I feel like it's something that I should be able to get right off the bat, or I should be able to know what color to put where, rather than something that I can experiment with and combine them and manipulate them. And the reason why this is kind of exciting for me to be able to realize that that's the way I think is because I think that a lot of times when I go in with the piece, and I feel like I should be able to linearly understand it, and I should know what colors I want to put where, and then I don't, and I can't get the colors right, and I really fight with it, and I struggle, and I feel like I'm failing at it. But in reality, I'm not, because that's not really how I work. It's just how I think that I should work with the style. And this is really a very like minute kind of way to think about it, because it's not something that I'm very clearly trying to think about when I'm doing my pieces. I'm just noticing that it's kind of like a flavor of my thought process as I'm working on it. But this kind of stuff is really helpful for me to be able to really realize that that's what I'm doing, that's why I'm thinking that way, and that way I can either fix it or encourage it if it's a good thought process. And when I finished recording this piece where it leaves off, I thought it was finished. I went to bed, and then I looked at it and I knew that it wasn't quite right. The colors just weren't quite creating the mood and the atmosphere that I wanted. And I think the big thing was that I wanted originally for the foreground, for the characters to be really warm, like there's a warm light. But as I worked on it, I pulled away from that, but there's still kind of this remnant of that desire to make it warm. So when I went in and I really pushed it into more of a cool light, and I also added a layer between the characters and the background where I added this kind of foggy color change, and I added some of these little like fireflies and these really little touches. And overall, all that stuff only took me maybe 15 minutes, but I feel like it made a huge difference between where it was the night before and the final version. And it's just kind of exciting to see what a big difference such a small change can be, and also how helpful it is to get fresh eyes on pieces that you're working on, because like this, it was a big difference, and I wasn't necessarily seeing it the night before, but once I woke up and I saw it with fresh eyes, I could see all the things that I wanted to fix, and then that's really exciting. But that is pretty much it for this piece. Like I said, I actually am really happy with this, and I'm definitely going to push more pieces that have more of an environment to it. And I'm excited about that because I really enjoyed working on this one. But this one will be available on my shop, so I have a link right below me in that button where you can check this piece out. And yeah, that is pretty much it for me for today. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you at my next one. Bye!